I'm not sure if it was you and I were talking about this or somebody was around us talking about it, how there was a whisper about making football, us wanting to talk about a spring sport.
Yes, I think it was you and I had read an article they were saying, especially in Florida, moving it to spring just because of it's so hot, especially this summer was really.
And welcome to this edition of the 941 Sports Zone. I'm John Massoni, here with our always special guest, Jessica Pluchino, the jack of all trades when it comes to Venice High School football.
Don't tell everybody that.
Yeah, exactly. But I've seen you do a lot of different things at different times, Jess. I say that because you are officially in the ranks of PA announcer now.
Oh boy!
So we might bring that up a little bit later. But Jess did give the first swat at PA announcing and did a very, very good job from everybody there and what I heard as well.
I appreciate that.
No
It
doubt.
might be my first and only appearance, but we'll see.
But tonight we're going to focus on, after we get done with a few things from last week, the Venice Touchdown Club's golf tournament, annual golf tournament. That is an event. I mean, I think it's a calendar, put a star, whatever event every year.
100%. Yeah, everybody looks forward to it. I get texts, January, February, when's the golf tournament coming up? So we're excited that it's right around the corner. And like you said, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Any charitable function that you have no space to, it's full up every year. Yeah, it's a good one. No doubt about that. But first, we'll go ahead and recap last week's show. I had an interesting week last week. So if anybody watched last week's, or whoever who did watch last week, the two guys that were with me are actually old friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And old friends of mine that I will tell you that I've had thousands of hours of conversations regarding sports, football, you name it. And just sort of dawned on me, I'm like, let's get these guys together. And it's always like, oh, I can't do that. I don't want to do that, whatever. And then next thing you know, they come on, and it was a really, I thought, interesting conversation. I thought everybody was well spoken. Everybody got comfortable pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to have Bill Matt and Mike Lay on as my guest last week, or our guest last week, to talk about the upcoming college football season, which kind of kicked off this week. Week 0, which I think is always interesting when they bring up that vernacular. It's week 0. And we saw some games that were, I don't say they were good games, but we saw games.
It was just thankful that we finally could turn on the TV and watch college football.
Yeah,
so it's been boring without it.
It just feels like it's so nice to it's
you're
there and you're watching it.
Right.
Food tastes a little better.
Yeah, 100%. The beer's a little colder.
My rant a few weeks ago about needing to have football because I was about to go crazy. Everything was bothering me. So it seems like everything all was right. Although I will say one thing. As we speak, we always tape here at Douglas Jeep on Monday nights. Again, Monty, thank you for helping us out as always. But we're in the midst of a hurricane buzzing, giving us a little, haircut buzzing by.
Yeah, I said it earlier today to quote the late great Yogi Berra. It's like deja vu all over again.
Yes, it is.
And it seems like it's always a few weeks right before our golf tournament. So I don't know if I need to adjust the date or what.
Golf tournament. And it seems like it's been the letter I is not our friend on the west coast
Definitely
of Florida with Irma, Ian, and now Idalia doing. And actually, if you look at it, in some ways, it went from southern part with Irma as far as landfall, Charlotte County area, then a little bit further where the Venice area, Sarasota, got it now a little further north, the Big Bend area.
Yeah.
So it's moved a little north. All the eye storms have. So hopefully this is our one shake at it, and everybody has the best results possible for whatever is coming their way.
Yeah. Hopefully it stays. I think it needs to stay west to avoid any crazy damage. But those things are so unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen.
And now the words that we've from everybody we're concerned about is storm surge with any storm now.
Right.
But that area in particular, in that Big Bend area, if that is where it goes, there's some different sort of topography or whatever that causes water to build up in certain areas. So they could be susceptible to some things. So we'll see how it all works out. Prayers to everybody, and I hope everybody's prepping. Don't, even though we sort of have to live with these things and we deal with them all the time, it's never one that you want to kind of just, shoo off and say, yeah, it's not this one, because these things make right-hand turns or left-hand turns or whatever at any point in time. So
I still have family up north. They're like, well, are you preparing? And I'm like, yeah, I probably should tomorrow morning, but I definitely take it serious. It's nothing to play around with.
And prep is really not anything that's, because if you already prepped from years before, stuff's already there. You're just kind of replenishing the
water,
essentials and water.
Canned goods, batteries.
Absolutely. Whatever generators.
The one year we were getting, was it Ian? Or no, the last year was Ian. Irma? Or was it Michael? Yeah. What was the one
Cat 5?
No, 5 years, like 5 years
Irma.
ago. Or was it Irma?
Irma.
They sent out a list of things that you should purchase in case of a hurricane, and one of the items was axe. So I went to Lowe's and bought an axe. I still have it.
Well, you know why?
It's come in handy once or twice.
Well, probably not for what they meant it for, but if you ever get storm surge, you may have to
chop your way
out
of
your house,
right,
and it sounds like sounds very sort of prehistoric, but it is true. You got to get out. You got to get out. So that is the deal. So we're definitely dealing with Idalia, and hopefully we'll be talking about that it wasn't as bad as we hoped, thought it was going to be, and we're good to go from there. Yeah. While we're here, so this show we always kind of frame things as local and state and national. We're going to be very local. This week we're going to be Venice local.
Venice local. Okay, all right.
So when we talk, I'm going to get a chance to get to talk to you about the golf tournament. But first, I'm going to go back and do a little bit of play a little sportscaster for you here. Last week was the first official week of high school football. Obviously, we had a fantastic showing and a fantastic time with all the coaches who came in for our media day and Suncoast Gridiron Media Day, to be precise. And want to just kind of shout out some scores and some things real quick to kind of keep everybody abreast. We're keeping track of things. We're watching these teams. John Reynolds a few weeks ago made some predictions. And so two of them right now, where he has to make sure that there's nobody else gets scathed.
All right.
So, but I'm gonna run through a few scores real quick, and I'll put my handy dandy reading glasses on to do so. So here we go. Bayshore, the team that I sort of thought was going to make a big turnaround this year, went ahead and beat St. Pete Catholic 56-46.
Oh wow.
One of John Reynolds' predictions, predicting a 9-1 Booker Tornadoes. Immokalee beat them 47-41 in overtime.
Tight.
So very, and not a surprising. Immokalee is one of those perennial powers.
Right.
Sort of like how Armwood was a perennial power.
Right.
Who beat Venice 34-25 on Friday night, and what I would consider a pretty big upset. Considering where Venice was ranked and how everybody saw. Armwood they thought they were going to be.
Right.
Braden River 34, Gainesville 20. So Coach Bradley gets a victory in that one. Bradenton Christian 35, Keswick Christian 0. Mooney 54, Avon Park 0. Mooney's looking good this year, and that's one other pick he had for a 9-1 team. I think
Mooney?
Yeah, they look good so far. Dunbar beat Charlotte 34-0. IMG White 41, St. John Paul 18. Manatee High School, led by Kwesi Green, who didn't get to make it down for our media day. However, 46, Lake Mineola 27. Parish Community 43, Northport 0. ODA 42, Berrien Christian 0. Palmetto 32, Gibbs 26. Riverview High School 54, Southeast 0. St. Stephen's game was canceled. Sarasota Christian 58, Sports Leadership Academy 0. Fort Meade 28, Sarasota 14. Eastland Christian beat TCA 26-15. Lemon Bay on Thursday night with a 20-13 victory over Lakewood Ranch. And then the game that I had sort of circled, just talking to the coaches that particular that day, was Bishop Faroe playing Port Charlotte. I thought Port Charlotte brought a lot of players back. Bishop Faroe, I have a friend who has kids play at Bishop Faroe, and they talk about their quarterback and how talented he is. And he went bananas.
Really?
Almost 400 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, and a big win for Faroe, 56-21 over Port Charlotte.
Wow.
So those were the games, and like I said, off some of the teams off to flying starts, but it's that time of the year. It's time, and high school football is there's always going to be little things that can happen for upsets. We've seen the strangest things ever.
Right. Yes.
You know, and all the years you go by, it could be a litany of things that can go wrong. It could be everything from academic issues to things that go on, injuries,
field, right.
You name it. It's all kinds of stuff. It's the, I always say it's the idea that you have to expect some sort of issues with with 14 to 18-year-old boys.
Yeah. It's it's the nature of the game there with those kids. But yeah, I mean, there's, from you reading the scores, it sounds it was like either a blowout or really tight game.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to probably watch that play out. I know usually the beginning half of the year, they're trying to feel their way through what's going on, see who they are as a team, and then the last half you're kind of getting in the meat of your district schedule, and you kind of you go from there. So I know that's what we're probably going to be looking at moving forward. So.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. So you have a lot of teams are going to try to be making up for a loss, and other teams are going to be starting from scratch, and other teams are going to be very high and feeling good about themselves for sure. One other thing I wanted to bring up before we start talking about the golf tournament, and you can talk about this as much as anybody. Brian Wheatley gets his 700th win.
Heck yeah!
Last Tuesday. It can't be diminished as to what that means or what that accounts for the longevity, the success it takes, and obviously Brian is one of the best coaches around.
I don't know. He's been on the show.
Correct.
Once already, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Brian Wheatley's probably, I mean, you ask anybody, any coach, and especially in his sport, I personally believe that he's probably the best volleyball coach in the state of Florida, but I think he's one of the best coaches, period, no matter what sport. He's just such a great motivator of, young athletes in that age group, really solid guys. Wife's awesome. His kids are awesome. Yeah. But 700 wins, you're talking about, this is his 30th year coaching, and we were hanging out a couple weeks ago, and he's been there 1 year longer than Coach Jim Powell.
Right, and
who
a legend.
Is a legend at Venice. So to be there that long, and I know there's been a couple times where we thought he might get the boot, but right. But he's persevered and he's still there, and it's just a great guy. Great, I know his players probably say the same thing about him. But
and the thing about Brian is that you talk about him, his style, how he does certain things, and calling him a coach, just generally speaking, he is a guy who's constantly looking for new ways to motivate not only himself but the girls, and he goes to football seminars. He reads. He's a book reader. He's looking at everything. He has people I think he has as mentors.
Yep.
He has no problem looking back and pulling the curtain back on other successful programs. So, I mean, that right there is, your thirst for knowledge to get better or to be better is the reason probably why he is where he is.
I couldn't agree more. He's, while he's a coach and a teacher, he's also a student. And I think he'd say the same thing himself. So he's, like you said, he's always, trying to learn new things and learn new ways to motivate people, and just excited for him. And I don't know what's happening. I know they're supposed to play Aquinas tomorrow, but it looks like that probably got canceled.
Yeah, so.
But I know he's excited for this year, and I think they're going to have make another run at it.
Yeah, I mean, you almost you hate to say you expect it because you're putting a lot on the girls, and every year it's a new team. The uniform might look the same, but it's a new team.
Right, 100%.
And so you got to see what they're going to do. But it's that legacy, it's that tradition that goes along with being a Venice volleyball player that really means a lot. One other thing too, I know we saw some things on social media where there was a map of the United States.
Yes.
Where it had all the in all the 50 states, it was a Max Preps, some sort of advertisement or whatever, and it said each state had the emblem and or school name of the best program in that state.
Right.
And Venice was represented Florida.
I don't care what sport you're talking about, but like to see the map and then to see, I mean, because that's such, for us especially, it's such a iconic logo. It's the brand, right? To see that covering the state of Florida, that's a pretty neat thing.
That's a nationwide thing.
Nationwide thing. Yeah.
And I will say this, say what you will about Max Preps, they do a fantastic job promoting high school sports. They really do know what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, they know like what games matter. They know what they
that's how they make their money. So they need to know.
Yeah, but I'll say what they're good about is like even with football, because I'm obviously on Max Preps every week.
Yeah.
But they team statistician, they're prodding you meaning the program, that's whatever you are, to put your information on their site, because if you do, they will somehow find out what you're doing
Right.
through that information and promote you. It's
there to help yourself.
absolutely.
Yeah,
It's a self-serve
100%,
deal.
yeah.
And when you do it right, next thing you know, you're like, you sort of see it kind of it foster itself.
Yeah.
Of all the things that I think we do for self-promotion, I say we, Venice High School in particular, the Max Preps angle is one thing that I think we've taken very good advantage of. And I think other schools very simply could take advantage of it as well
Yeah,
to promote themselves.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes they just don't. I don't know if they don't have the manpower or they just don't feel like they should put that much stock into it. But it's really a simple thing to do. So
Yeah, I mean, it gives. It's almost like you could, and this sounds a little bit maybe over the top, but it's almost as if like you could actually put your own content on a Sports Center / college game day profile.
Right.
It's not, maybe it may not get to air, but it's going to be in the
there.
scroll.
Right.
It's going to be somewhere.
Yeah.
You can just tap your, ooh, let's look at this school. Boom, boom, boom. Here's the coaches. Here's the kids. They work with Huddle now. They get highlights out there. It's amazing.
Real easy. It's totally. I mean, talk about, you mentioned all the hats I've worn over the years. Talk about film. Like, I remember going to the Greyhound bus station on a Saturday to put film on a bus to go somewhere and picking it up. Like, now everything's on Max Preps through Huddle. Boop, it's right there.
Right. You
so
can
like
see
take
it.
advantage of the technology and the times
it
we live in.
really works.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do, Jess, right here is I'm going to take our first break of the night. That way we have plenty of time to talk about the golf tournament. So we'll take a break from here at Douglas Jeep again. Monty Jacobs, who was here earlier. Where did he?
I thought he was interviewing me tonight, but he left.
He dabbles.
Yeah.
Everyone's telling me we put a lasso on him. We put him on a chair for a little while, and he's always like, "I don't want to do this." And then he does really well at it. So, but we'll take a break, come back here, and talk a little bit or a lot about the upcoming golf tournament for the Venice Touchdown Club. We'll also talk about a few little things here and there, and if you want to stay around to get to the What's Bugging Me section.
Sure.
We always know there's something always bugging you
There's
and I.
There's always something bugging me, yeah. I think it's the Italian in us.
We just some angry about something, right? So we'll get that out as well. With that, we'll take our first break of the night and come back here and talk about the golf tournament coming up shortly. See you back here in a few.
What does Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram and Venice High football have in common?
The perfect team and the perfect lineup.
Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram will always go the extra yard, so you can score big with the area's best selection and savings. So if you're looking for a championship vehicle lineup
and a dealership that tackles the competition,
visit Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram in Venice.
And if you're looking for a championship football lineup, check out the Venice High football team.
Who supports Venice High football? Douglas does.
With the 941 Sports Zone from Douglas Jeep, located in beautiful South Venice, Florida. So, Jess, we mentioned before, Venice Touchdown Club annual golf tournament. A few changes this year.
Yep.
Obviously, golf is golf. Scrambles are scrambles. Yep. But how about you give us the lowdown on what to look forward to this year?
The 2023 version of the golf tournament we're going back to Plantation, which when was the last time we were there? You were actually
I was the touchdown club
You were the president running the show, so it's been a bit of a gap in between. But going back to Plantation, we're really excited. That course is gorgeous. It's a private course. A lot of people that probably don't get an opportunity to play on that course will have the opportunity to play in our golf tournament and experience that. We are actually full right now. In the past, we've been able to utilize 27 holes. Plantation at this point in time wasn't able to offer that to us, so we're at 18. So we're at a little bit of a reduction in golfers at 144, but we're full. And I know I could fill the rest if they gave it to me.
Absolutely.
So basically what we did was we kind of sent out invitations once we locked in the date and the location with them in April and said, hey, we know you play in the golf tournament every year. We're moving it. We have less space. If you want in, let me know now. And we probably got 3/4 of the way full just off of that. And then
I think my feeling was when that all came out and it was will this work or what's going to happen? My goodness. The reaction before you even say anything out was, let's
do it.
Let's
We're
do
all
it.
in, right?
Yeah.
So with that, you've played in it for however many years, but you get golf. You're gonna get free Chick-fil-A breakfast, coffee. You'll have on-course beverages.
Yes, indeed.
So we'll have a Bloody Mary bar, screwdrivers, beer
The like.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, good time. We have every golfer is going to get a 32-ounce tumbler, sponsored by Bishop Construction Services, who Michael Bishop's a alumni, played Venice football. I think he graduated 05 or 06.
Sounds about
it
right.
all kind of blends together
Yes.
after a while.
Yeah.
So they're doing that. White Cement Specialties is our beverage sponsor. It's going to be a really good time. It's September 23rd at Plantation. We still are looking for sponsors. We're not going to say no. So that's our big thing.
That's the big thing right now.
That's the big thing.
If anyone wants to sponsor this ship, I can tell you this, that you're going to get a lot of cover, a lot of coverage,
a lot of exposure. Yeah. For years we were the biggest. We're gonna come back bigger. We're gonna get Plantation to let us use both 18s next year.
Right.
But for the years we were the biggest golf tournament in Southwest Florida. So we're really well known. Great coverage from all of our sponsors. Douglas Jeep is sponsoring us once again. They're obviously they love us, so they're gonna be out there.
2 or 10, yeah.
So if you want to sponsor, go to VeniceIndianFootball.org and click on the golf link, and you can sign up there. There's a link to pay, or my email address and phone numbers on that same spot. Just pick up the phone, call me if you have any questions, and love to sign you up. It's a great event. It's fun. I mean, it's just such a good time. Like you said, everybody that's played in it, they're like, sign me up next year. When is it? Mark it on my calendar, and
it's like you started with a sort of an old clunker.
Yep.
And you built this beautiful streamlined racing car now, and everybody wants to be a part of it. And you talked about the 18, 20 from 27 holes. Sometimes, like I said, these adaptations, these changes lead to bigger and better things.
Yeah. No, I think we're like in a little bit of a transition. We have it. So this was, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
So the past, 7 years, we've been at Waterford.
Right.
Kim LeBlanc,
great job.
Awesome
Absolutely.
person, great job. She really facilitated us hosting that tournament at Waterford. Unfortunately, they got bought out by a management company. It's them, Capri, and Calusa. And basically, which I think when I was on here last time, what was bugging me was all these corporate people coming in, and they want to big time you, and they don't want to.
They don't want to be involved.
They don't want to be. They don't want to be involved. So basically, what happened was they got bought out by this management group, and they're like, "No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to help you out. You can have it here, but it's going to be on our terms, and we're gonna charge you." And what they wanted to charge us, and what the other items they wanted to charge us for, like, we're not doing that, because when you sign up to play in our golf tournament, there's an expectation.
Yeah.
You're going to pay a certain amount of money, and we did have to raise our prices this year, don't get me wrong, but other than that, like, we weren't going to nickel and dime you the whole day.
Right. And
you were going to have a good time. And if we had stayed there and let them kind of like take control, you wouldn't have had a good time. So, right. So I didn't want to lose the integrity of our tournament. Again, we had to reduce the size and we had to raise the price. I looked at some other options, just kind of wasn't in the cards for us anywhere else. But Plantation's great. I mean, Jesse Madsen, I think it's Julie Edgar is the pro out there. Okay. And then Christina, who's in charge of food and beverage. They've been awesome. If you've ever been to Plantation for any kind of event, they do everything first class.
Beautiful setup.
Yeah.
So, for the golf tournament itself, you pull up there, you go right to where the bag drop is. They check you out. Everything goes in. Everything is right. Everything is right in one centrally located spot that gets you out whatever side you're going to play on, because there's two 18s out there, and then the clubhouse itself is enormous and facilitates everybody real easy. Great sound system, great food.
It's
so
going
it's
to be
good.
first,
it's
and
really good.
Everything we try to do, no matter what we do, whether it's a fundraiser, or Friday night, we're going to try to do it first class. So when we had to make the change, like that was my biggest concern. I just wanted to keep it where we were at, first class,
right,
in that aspect.
And that's what happens. So in any situation like that, it's when you do something the right way to start with, it's very hard as the organization or the organizer, I should say, for you to say, well, I'm going to take 5 steps backwards in order to accommodate a person or a group that doesn't even understand what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
And that's the real thing. It isn't just like you're coming to look for a handout and then not put on a great show.
Yeah.
And by the way, that benefits the host club as much as anything,
100%, yeah.
Especially a public course. Yeah. You've got 216 golfers at that point showing up with 70 volunteers, 65, 70 volunteers.
Around that.
Now the first, when you're first pulling in and you're checking people in, if I'm the golf course, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You got you're getting the bags, you're doing this, doing that. But once it starts, it's just
easy.
Stand back and let it run itself.
Have a good time.
The volunteers are out there, make sure everybody's moving along at the proper pace. Those things always take 5 hours, no matter what you do.
No matter what you're doing.
But the pacing is good. Right. Everybody's getting along. You have all it's just one of those things where once you see it in action, you say to yourself, how did it get this good?
Yeah, I was just, and not to harp on this too much, but once I realized we had to move it, the process to find a new venue to make sure it was way more complicated than I thought it would be. Like I was telling you, this thing is like push a button, and now all of a sudden, it's still push a button, but I got to find out where I can push the button first, and that was kind of stressing me out a little bit. But I think we have a good pairing with Plantation, and they're going to do it right, and I'm not concerned with, are we going to have a good time or not?
And the one thing with a new venue and or a redo of a venue is the concern from your perspective is, can they handle it?
Yeah,
these folks
they can totally handle it. They do.
That's not a problem.
They do LPGA qualifier there every year.
They've held many a tournament, and they do it to the best of their ability. They're very good at it. So again, the dates,
September 23rd. Still got plenty of time to sponsor. Again, go to our website, VeniceIndianFootball.org. You can email me at VeniceFootball1, the number 1 at gmail.com if you have any questions. But all the paperwork, all the information's on our website. We're looking for sponsors. If you want to try to play, call me like the day before or even the morning of, and there might be something crazy that happens, and I can sneak you in. But probably not.
Sometimes that does happen, like a late pull out or something goes a little haywire. But it's
very rare, yeah.
I know there's always like some people I always feel terrible about it. I know you too, where it's a single person who wants to play.
Do you got anybody to compare? Well, no, not really. I wish.
Because I know it's like you the foursomes fill up.
Yeah.
I managed to get 2 of them every year.
Yes.
And they're like, I'm talking about, hey, get on it quick because you're going to be left in the cold.
Yeah.
So there's definitely with that.
Looking forward to it. I'm going to have to just try to plan some events indoors because I'm getting stressed out worrying about the weather. I have to worry about the weather with this. I have to worry about the weather with the fishing tournament. We're going to have to do a casino night or something.
Well, keeping it real local. One of the things that we always contend with is weather around football season.
Oh, yeah.
There's lightning delays, there's rain potential, there's hurricane potential. Yep. All those things but now they always add the next thing. Now it's heat issues.
Yeah, humidity levels.
Yep. So it gets harder and harder. I'm not sure if it was you and I were talking about this or somebody was around us talking about it, how there was a whisper about making football, us wanting to talk about a spring sport.
Yes, I think it was you and I. I had read an article they were saying, especially in Florida, moving it to spring just because of it's so hot. Especially this summer was really
because you can't the natural progression. I talked to somebody about it. Said, well, don't start in August. Start in September or later, and eliminate some of those weeks. The problem is that dribbles into other sports, dribbles into everything else because that's if unless you're going to eliminate the multi-sport athlete, which we've talked about on this show about not wanting to do that. Right. But because that's the only way you're going to avoid it. It's hurricane season goes till November 30th. Yeah. Rainy season goes till mid to late October.
I can deal with the rain. We've played. Yeah. we played in plenty rain like sloppy mess,
Right.
rainy games. It's the Lightning. I think like I don't know if you talked about this on the show at all previously, but the whole thing with the humidity of was it a couple years ago or last year? A high school football player wound up unfortunately passing away.
Right.
And that's kind of where this rule or law got enacted. So now everybody has to have this wet bulb that measures the humidity. But like who knows how accurate those things are?
Well, it's like I said. I think that they're trying to put safeguards into
Right.
place. It's a matter of how they're carried out by each school or each
There's no
game or whatever it would be.
Yeah.
But I do get it. But
I agree with the thought process behind it and why you need to do it. It's just another thing.
I think maybe it might be an easier way to take care of that problem would be maybe to mandate more open dates. So you lengthen the season,
Yep.
but then you make sure that you have built-in buffers. Like, okay, if this happens, you can move, the game can be moved to
Right.
this particular open
Yeah.
date or whatever it may be. Giving that some leeway in that.
They could actually and I don't know how they determine this, but based on the last 3-4 years of us going to the state championship, there's actually a week in between now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that's good for if you're playing in the state championship, you probably
Right.
want the extra week off, but you could kind of maneuver it where you do have maybe two. You got to pick,
You got to have two,
push
at
it
least
back.
two.
Right,
At
push it
least
back.
two.
Because obviously you don't want to go back any further than that because then you're in Christmas. But
Right. There's a lot
there's
of
a
things.
lot
that,
of things,
A lot of
right.
things that kind
Right.
of pile up at the end there
Right,
like that.
so-
And knowing the coaches and the kids, 22-week football season could be
yeah,
a lot.
I mean, it's long now. 17, 18 weeks now?
just about.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
All right, with that, we'll take our next break and come back and talk a little bit about some things that are going on in the state of Florida. I didn't talk about the Rays last week. This is good for you. Jessica's a Yankees fan, so we'll talk a little bit
Is
about
it good
that.
or is it bad?
Yeah, it's all good. If it's conversational, it's
Okay.
good on this show. And then we'll talk a little bit about week one of college football, and then after that, we'll do a little bit of. Don't want to get specific on predictions in regards to the entire playoff picture or whatever else.
Yeah.
But I'll run through the divisions from the AFC and NFC, kind of pick where I think they might all
Okay.
rank in there, and see if you want to jump in on that as
Sure,
well.
why not?
And we'll look at that on our part after that. So with that, we'll take a break, come back, and talk a little bit about what's going on around the state of Florida, other than Idalia.
Ugh.
Be back here in a few.
What does Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram and Venice High football have in common?
The perfect team and the perfect lineup.
Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram will always go the extra yard, so you can score big with the area's best selection and savings. So if you're looking for a championship vehicle lineup,
And a dealership that tackles the competition.
visit Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram in Venice,
And if you're looking for a championship football lineup, check out the Venice High football team.
who supports Venice High football? Douglas does.
And we're back here with the 941 Sports Zone, and we're going to go to our state section of our show. Tampa Bay Rays, current record 80-52. Still, I mean, after that 13-0 start, they really haven't gone, down
Right.
too much. But the Orioles have still been playing fantastic. As of today, 2 games behind the Orioles still for first place in the American League East. And the Rays did take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees in Tampa. I think they're done with each other this year now.
Are they? Or they? I thought they had something
I don't
late
know.
September.
Because it came up, of course, yesterday's game, which was Sunday.
Yep.
Almost some fisticuffs.
Oh.
There was
Missed that.
4 Rays guys got beamed, and Paredes got hit in the head.
Really?
And so he took it well. I mean, whatever. And there seemed to be a genuine sort of like the pitcher didn't look like he was good. He did it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure they were going inside, but then that kind of went away, and maybe they think they might have walked out a little bit on that one. But then Rosarina got hit right in the rib cage, and that looked like it had some purpose to it.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm glad they showed a little aggressiveness somewhere.
well, and that was sort of I heard from the Yankee point of view was like, hey, I know we're in last place, but we're not like the worst team in the league. We're just playing in a super good division.
Yeah.
And I think it was that maybe they were kind of using it for fuel And the Rays are like, well, there's a lot of other ways you can do except putting the ball in somebody's rib cage.
Right.
So they did come out. They did the little John. The managers had a few words with each other and went from there. And Rays took it as the approach of, we don't want to get in a fight because we don't need to have guys suspended for 5
Right.
games, and then we're in a bad. We're still trying to pursue a division
Run at it,
championship. But again, baseball it's been an interesting year for baseball because I mean, while you've had some of the perennial powers doing really well, the Mariners just snuck into first place in the American League West.
Okay.
And so you look in the Orioles and the Rays right there. So there's 3 teams that you would never suspected, with all the big names in the American League as well doing that well. The Braves are the cream of the crop right now.
Yeah, they're always in the mix.
Yeah, and then but again, you still got some other teams that are doing well. You got the Dodgers out there playing well, and so it's an interesting year. It's always interesting though. I mean, you watched golf this past weekend end its season before the NFL kicked off the regular season because they got lost. They lost. They couldn't. Where do you watch it?
Right.
There's
not. Yeah. You
for
can't.
as much as I like watching golf. We all like watching golf a little bit. If there's any football game
that's on.
It's you just might peek and say, "Who's leading?" Oh, they're on the 15th hole. You're not really watching it like you'd watch it normally. So that's a big deal. In state also, a big game this coming up Sunday in Orlando. The number 8 FSU Seminoles going against the number 5 LSU Tigers in Orlando. The only big sort of matchup in the top 25.
Okay.
And last year was a great game with Florida State pulling out the victory. And you've got 2 quarterbacks that you would never could have told me in a million. I would have never guessed it last year that Travis Jordan, I would say, which one is he? And Jaden Daniels, the quarterback from LSU, are Heisman Trophy guys.
Are they really?
Yeah. And so they both of them didn't look like either one. Daniels transferred in from Arizona State, and but both teams are good. The coaches have been doing a fantastic job. Brian Kelly sort of proved me wrong and came down from Notre Dame and done a really nice job at LSU. Although he has the fake Cajun accent he has now.
It's like Madonna or whoever.
Yeah. Just turns into wherever he's at.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp.
Exactly. In Britain, if I walk out, I'm in London, I got a British accent. So, that's going to be happening, and then where I'll be heading in a few days.
Oh yeah.
Florida Gators kick off their season with a game that's promotable. ESPN's been making a big deal about it. The Florida Gators go out to Utah to play the Utah Utes. I think a top 15 team the Utes are. Maybe I know they were top 10 last year. They finished, but I think they're top 15. Big test for the Gators. I would not be surprised, obviously, with a loss. But the first game is the first game, and you see what happens in everyone. Last year, Utah was favored at home with Florida.
Upset them, right?
And they upset them. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to report back. I mean,
it'd be worth a
I'm gonna go,
2,000-mile trip.
because I'll get kicked out of the family. I'm gonna say go Gators. So
yeah. There you go. But no, I think that's from a state perspective, a lot of eyes on all the state schools. We talked a little bit about last week. Miami on a rebuild, Florida on a rebuild. Florida State at the apex of their rebuild. USF at the very, very beginning of their rebuild.
Yeah, they're getting a new stadium, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
On campus, finally.
Really?
There's always been an issue with space and all this different stuff, but honestly, you don't have to have a 70,000 seat stadium.
No.
UCF proved that. And I've been to multiple UCF games, and just a single bowl, maybe 40,000, and it rocks.
Yeah.
It's because everybody's concentrated right there, and they have a great situation, a little sort of, I should say a lot of tailgate spots around there, very well made out, and a little like sort of like mini sort of walk around, like a little, it feels like a downtown little area.
Where do they play now at Raymond James?
The Bulls, yes, play at Raymond James.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to get.
But they don't sell out that. So
No.
why wouldn't you have a smaller stadium? And it looks like, like you said, like it's rocking in there. So
Yeah, and that's a lot of the stadiums you see around the country that aren't SEC stadiums. Okay, except for Vanderbilt.
Right.
But they are not 94,000 seat stadiums. The SEC is about being that big.
Big, right.
Or other places, Michigan, Ohio State. We're not talking about every stadium in the country is that big. So I think that will bode well from them from a recruiting perspective, an attendance perspective. All those things go really well. I mentioned it before about the other schools. the one school that has sort of I think is the outlier, but interesting to watch this year is UCF, because UCF's going to be in the Big 12.
Okay.
Their schedule's much harder, but you still got Gus Malzahn, who Auburn fans, they love and hate him in the same sentence over the years, because he does win games he shouldn't win, and he's sort of innovative, and it's kind of fun to watch. And then there's sometimes like, what is he doing now?
Right.
And so,
well, Wheatley has listening to him over the years.
And Bill, Madden,
okay.
he's an Auburn guy
is
too.
he? Okay.
Yeah. So he definitely has a lot to say about Auburn and Malzahn. But Malzahn at UCF, I mean, he's right. I said this to Bill, he agreed. I said he's riding on, he's on playing with house money.
Yeah.
Auburn paid him a load of money to get out of there. Takes a job at UCF, and they're like, hey, can you keep throwing the ball around and keep things exciting? He's like, that's what I do.
Right. Awesome.
So he did get the right job at the right time. So it was a good deal for him. But again, it's the start of the season for college football, and I think week 2 will be better matchups. But I think now it's going to be interesting how to see how the schedules play out, Jess, because I think they're going to adapt some things. Instead of having a cupcake in the first game, maybe you want to play somebody because you want to get your ranking a little higher. So these easy first games might go away. They always try to put 1 or 2 tougher games. Right. Somebody says, "Oh, we're going to start the season playing this team or that team," and it's a decent game. But no, I think you're going to see more and more of these type of ACC, SEC matchups as time moves on.
Well, the fans I mean, it's good. First of all, it's financially it's good.
Sure.
And just kind of gets the fans juiced up, and
it's fun if you're LSU and Florida State to go to Orlando, a little travel like a bowl game early in some stretch. You're getting treated right, and they're treating you like and you get a standalone game on a Sunday night before the NFL starts. So you got everybody fired up, and everybody doing their fantasy football draft, and then watching the game afterwards.
Exactly. I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah, it was quick. Yeah, I actually was going to try to talk about fantasy football, but it's just. I don't know if it's just ambivalence in general, but it seems like strategically fantasy football has changed a little bit because everybody is so offensive. It's kind of hard to say, well, you say, oh, take him. He'll get 60 catches.
Right, yeah.
And he'll get hot in the game and that kind of thing. So the strategy is a little bit more how you fill out your team as opposed to having to get a certain position player or whatever it may be.
No, I agree.
No doubt. With that, this is a great segue. Now we'll take a break, come back, and talk about the NFL. Okay. A few predictions from me and Jessica, if she wants to hop in, about who we think might be the teams to watch out for in each division and potentially as, playoff contenders as well. So with that, we'll take our next break, come back here and talk a little NFL football. Hear from Douglas Jeep in the 941 Sports Zone. See you back here in a few.
What does Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram and Venice High football have in common?
The perfect team and the perfect lineup.
Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram will always go the extra yard, so you can score big with the area's best selection and savings. So if you're looking for a championship vehicle lineup
and a dealership that tackles the competition,
visit Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram in Venice.
And if you're looking for a championship football lineup, check out the Venice High football team.
Who supports Venice High football? Douglas does.
Here at Douglas Jeep in the 941 Sports Zone. And don't forget the What's Bugging Me section. Truly Nolan sponsored What's Bugging Me section. Thank you, Truly Nolan, for being a part of our show and sponsoring our, I think, pretty popular little segment that we do.
I think so, too. I look forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's popular not only from an audience perspective, but I think everybody sits at the table here. Once you kind of tell them what it's all about, they're like, oh, and they kind of like it a little bit. Get to have a strong opinion on something. With that, our national section will talk about the NFL starting not this weekend, but next weekend in full Sunday Fun Day.
Sunday Fun Day.
The 10th of the September. And kind of going through it and looking at some things. And obviously a lot of, pundits are talking about who they think is this team. And I think that rather than specify and say this is the absolutes on this team or whatever, go through division by division and think where we find these teams and then see where we can come up with. So I will start with our favorite division, or one of them, I should say, the AFC East.
Okay.
Where I have it looking at, where just being realistic, Buffalo being still the cream of the crop, well, I think the Jets are next strictly because of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched, 2 series or whatever he was the other night against the Giants, and it looked so different.
Yeah.
It looked faster. It looked whatever, and it just looked like what you would want to hope it would look like.
Yeah.
So that puts me with the Jets being there, but I think Miami is very close. Miami's a little bit of, I don't know. Is it all about Tua being healthy? Is it all about certain things? But Miami's the one team I just can't get a grip on.
Yeah, because they started off hot last year and then they kind of petered out at the end, right?
Sort of was like they just kind of went and just was like just very
anticlimactic,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then New England Patriots, the team that you root for, I mean, it's.
I don't know what they're gonna do, but yeah.
They're not sure about the quarterback. Some of the free agent guys they've gotten, but you can't discount Bill Belichick.
No, yeah, obviously, he's like a mad genius, but is he more mad now?
Yeah.
Or is he more of a genius?
Well, it's funny because over the years, I'd being a Jets fan, you'd be like, oh, what's he gonna do to our quarterback?
Right.
What voodoo is he gonna put on him where he goes? I don't know if he can do that to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to he's probably seen it all. Now, Belichick, anybody could, Belichick could, but I think that's the difference in that situation. AFC North. I've got the Bengals coming out of being the best team there. Ravens, Steelers, Brown. I put them in an order, but that it could be any other version of that, because the Browns looking better with Deshaun Watson. The Steelers, everybody likes them because of the pieces, but again, you got Kenny Pickett at quarterback. How good is he going to be? And then the Ravens are just perennial winners.
Yeah, and they got. What's his face? The quarterback,
Lamar.
Right? He just signed a big contract.
Yep,
and then they got OBJ.
They got receivers.
Yep.
There's definitely put some stuff around them, and they always have good offensive lines, and they play great defense.
Yeah.
So the Ravens can't be discounted. So I put them second for now, but I wouldn't lock myself into those.
Into that, yeah,
for sure.
Pittsburgh. I mean, you're going into every season. You always think they're going to be solid, but again, with them, they're kind of like they've kind of been mediocre.
Yeah.
The last several years, so I don't.
I watched them. They got some players that they draft well. They're good talent evaluators in Pittsburgh. So the guys they get usually are productive, and that's a big part of they tend to be that when they get on a roll, they win. They roll. They're good. AFC South. I think it's kind of easy to say that Jacksonville is the cream of the crop there. Indianapolis. I mean, they're doing some things. I think it's going to be hard for me to see Anthony Richardson being like super successful early, but his athleticism could do that for him. And then Tennessee is kind of on a little bit of a dip, and Houston is again a rebuild at this point. So, but I think Jacksonville clearly being the better team, which you couldn't have said that last year.
No.
And that speaks a lot about Doug Peterson coming from Philly and then wherever he did a great job. Yeah. And so I think he's doing the same great job in Jacksonville. AFC West, I'm going chalk on this one. I think Kansas City is still the best team.
I mean, you can't. I'm not big fans of them. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is great, but I agree with that.
San Diego next.
Okay.
I like Denver. I mean, again, I like Denver. I'm not enamored with Las Vegas, not because of Jimmy G, but because there seems to be a little bit of discontent in the room.
Yeah, with Gruden, what happened with that? Still, you think?
Oh, a little bit of that, but
Carr
leaves. Kind of a weird deal. Devontae Adams is a big free agent signing. He's been grumbling about a few things. Josh Jacobs just came back from a holdout. Running backs who hold out normally get a hamstring pull in about the first 15 minutes of the game they play in.
Right.
So there's some things that could sort of unravel on the Raiders a little bit. Defense is good, but I just don't know if I can see them do that. Denver and Las Vegas could flip-flop there, but I don't know. It just depends on how each one. And in Denver, you've got a great coach in Sean Payton now there. So it's a good marriage with him and Russell Wilson. NFC East, your next favorite division, or maybe your favorite division.
Now, we've changed.
Philly, for sure. Then I go New York Giants, I go Dallas, and I go Commanders.
Okay.
So Philly, because it's just they looks like they haven't missed a beat and they've added a few things.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I can't, growing up a Giants fan in a house, like you hate Dallas first, but you really hate the Eagles.
Philly's the guy, the neighbor down the street.
Right.
Like, you might respect them a little
Yeah.
bit for whatever, but
they're I mean, just across the board, they were so good last year and consistent and talented, and Hurts. He's
legit.
solid. He's legit. Yeah.
I
was fun to watch him. It wasn't fun to watch them beat the Giants, but it was fun to watch him.
I will say this, we know people who have been athletes or whatever who are grinders.
Yeah.
They're going to find a way to get where they want to get. I think he's that guy.
Yeah. Yep.
I think he was coached well by his dad when he was younger.
Yeah.
And I think that he is a grinder, and I think he finds a way to win. And I think it's a lot with him for sure.
Yeah.
You think about it, talked about Tua earlier. Jalen Hurts, now after Tua replaced sort of Jalen Hurts and kind of ushered him out, I think now you can see that Jalen Hurts, that might have made him
better.
100%.
100%.
He
couldn't
didn't
agree
pout.
more.
He got better.
Yeah.
NFC North, it's again, it's like talking about Jacksonville and the Jets and a few other things, but Detroit, the Lions are, when Dan Campbell, their coach, he looked like sort of like a little awkward guy talking about, just like the real meat and potatoes of football, but done a really nice job there. I think Detroit is the best team in that division, followed by Minnesota. But I will say this, word has been leaking out here. I didn't watch too much of it, but people are seem to be very high in the fact that Jordan Love, the guy who took over for Aaron Rodgers, sort of did the same thing Rodgers did and waited his turn, has looked very good in Green Bay.
Really?
Very good. Yeah, so we'll see how that works. And then Chicago, I'm not a big Justin Fields guy. I think I don't know if he's the kind of guy that you can carry you way a great quarterback will. He's going to run around a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's very good. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not sold on him, nor am I sold on what they've kind of put around themselves.
Over there, yeah.
So Chicago would be in last for me. NFC South, probably the worst division in all football. So with that, the best of the worst are the Saints. I think Derek Carr will do well in New Orleans. They've got some players. They got a good defense. Put a lot of stock in some draft picks and defense. I will go Falcons next, only because it seems like while they don't have every last piece to it, they have the formula that seems to want to win.
Yeah.
In a division that doesn't have a formula or a bunch of winners.
Right.
I like them. Then I go Bucks. Then I go Panthers. I think Panthers are in sort of even though Bryce Young is great, our friend Mr. John Peacock picked Bryce Young and the Panthers to make the playoffs.
Oh, really? Did he?
He's
Okay.
he's got big red A's in his eyes.
Yeah.
He sees all that stuff. So but he likes the Panthers. But I wouldn't be totally surprised with the division, but that's the order I see it there. And finally, NFC West, 49ers I think are the cream of the crop. So what just happened, a really interesting story, they gave up 3 first-round draft picks to get Trey Lance out of North Dakota State because they loved his upside.
Right.
They just traded him to the Cowboys for a 4th-round draft pick. And so you think, how could you lose 3 first-rounders and your future quarterback and still be the best team in the division by there's something going on right. And for as much as Kyle Shanahan was a part of the great Atlanta Falcons collapse against the New England Patriots, he is a really good coach. He's a really good coach.
No, I agree.
And so the 49ers, and I say after that, I heard this talk, and I was already on this bandwagon. Seahawks are going to be good this year. They got some players to kind of surround Geno Smith with a little bit. So I like the Seahawks, Rams, and then Cardinals. Again, one of the worst teams coming out. You really can't tank in the NFL because it's just you could try, but I don't think they are. I mean, who knows when what's his face? Now he's even gone out of my mind. Their quarterback, Kyler Murray.
Oh, Kyler Murray, yeah.
When he comes back, but again, I think the Cardinals are sort of there. Of all those teams, I would say that there are probably a good half the league could be serious playoff contenders. I wouldn't say champions, but could really make a run. About half the teams in the league are potential for that. The other half could sneak in, could be good, could be better. But I think there's half of the teams, and you can see from division to division, are going to be really good playoff contender teams.
Like I've noticed over the past few years, maybe it was more of a transition, like with the downslide of the Patriots. The gap's kind of closed.
Right.
There's more teams that are better. There's not that separation,
Right.
which has kind of made it more fun to watch, I guess.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. I think it is a lot more. Every team seems to have a chance.
Right.
A rebuild is not, forever.
Forever,
You can
right.
kind of get that thing
Yeah.
rolling if you get the right coach in the right situation. But again, the NFL is always so competitive. It is fun. There is no real one team that stands out to me as a Super Bowl champion.
Right. You can't, like today, you're not saying, the Chiefs are going to win.
I'll say Buffalo, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Philly, 49ers, and I would say from there, Jets, Seahawks, Chargers. They all can fall into that, where they could be there.
Sneak it, right.
They could get there. So we'll see what happens. With that, we'll take our final break of the night. Come back with the Truly Nolan What's Bugging Me section. We'll see what's bugging Jessica. I know it's bugging me. Not crazy. No, I'm not going to go psycho on you, but I will tell you I'm a little annoyed with a few things. But with that, we'll come back here, do that, and I think unless you want to make a prediction, I think our prediction, we'll call that our prediction section, the NFL and the division.
I'm going to go. The G-Men are going to upset the Eagles in the playoffs.
Okay.
Okay. That's what I'm going with.
There you go. And but would not be a surprise.
Yes.
I like that team.
I think they're going to be better than everybody expects this year.
Brian Daboll's a darn good coach.
He is a very good coach.
Yeah, no doubt about that. He's a good coach. All right, with that, we'll take our break and come back here and wrap up tonight's 941 Sports Zone.
What does Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram and Venice High football have in common?
The perfect team and the perfect lineup.
Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram will always go the extra yard, so you can score big with the area's best selection and savings. So if you're looking for a championship vehicle lineup
and a dealership that tackles the competition,
visit Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram in Venice.
And if you're looking for a championship football lineup, check out the Venice High football team.
Who supports Venice High football? Douglas does.
And we're back here with the Truly Nolan What's Bugging Me section of the 941 Sports Zone. And Jessica Pluchino, you get to go first.
All right. There's a few things bugging me, but let's see. I think I'm going to go with what I touched on earlier with the golf tournament. Just, we need to, as people that make a lot of money off of our community, you need to give back.
Right.
I really, it's just it's been like an ongoing theme this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's frustrating. Maybe don't give back. Maybe you're not giving back to the football program, but give back to somebody.
Right.
Give back to the, to the high school or to the students or the elementary school or something in some way, shape, or form.
And especially in a town such as Venice.
Right.
So we're talking about a one team town.
Right.
There's not a lot of things tugging you from different directions. And in a lot of cases, it's really just being able to open the doors for somebody.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like if you have a shovel and you're digging dirt and building a building in this community, you better be giving money to some entity
Right.
in this community.
Right.
And if you're not,
Yeah.
it's crummy.
Yeah. No, I know.
think I can cuss on here, but
Yeah,
I'm not going to.
yeah. But you're 100% right on it. That's
Right.
a situation like that. It is interesting because, it's very hard. I always say this, we want to be a global thinkers. We want to feel sorry for things that are happening all over the
Right.
world and everything else. But as individuals, we can only act locally.
Right.
Local to us.
Yeah.
And I say, so sometimes, spreading the wealth doesn't mean that you go out and you go do a GoFundMe page
Right.
for somebody that's having a wildfire issue in Canada.
Right.
I'm not picking on that. I'm just picking the subject matter. But when really there's things happening around your own community.
Help your neighbor, right. Help your neighbor.
That can make things better in the long
Yeah,
run.
I 100% agree.
In my experience and your experience, okay, we're both Venice High School grads. I graduated in 1983. You graduated way after me, right?
02.
02, right. So with that, our experience based on the community at large. I mean, if the community sucked, we wouldn't come back here.
Yeah.
We could have went someplace else and did. But the community was great.
Yeah.
It gave us friends and family and you name it.
I agree,
right?
yeah.
Opportunity, and so you want that to continue for the next generation.
Yeah.
If we talk about watching high school football players. It is about the game a lot, but it's a lot about what happens with those young
Seeing
men
them,
or
right.
young women with Brian's program
Right.
who come back or do great things for the community that either maybe not Venice, but some community somewhere else.
Yeah. And we, like you said, we have a great community. We have great people that support us and other organizations, and I'm not taking away from that.
Yes.
It's just,
No,
and I'm also not taking away, like, I like growth and development. I think it's good for where we live, but don't do it and be greedy about it either.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
So I what's bugging me is one thing, but I'm going to say one thing that's got kind of bugging me too. There was a situation on Friday night where our friend Francis over here let his girlfriend get knocked down.
Yeah.
Emma.
That kind of bugged me
Yeah.
also. I mean,
She got knocked right on the ground.
and he didn't even run down there
By-
and make sure she was okay.
By a 5-star player.
By a
though.
5-star player.
Yes,
Yeah.
Charles Lester.
Yeah.
And
He
I don't
did,
know.
he like did the tomahawk chop on her.
No, I'm only kidding. But yeah, it was something that happened. We were giving
yeah.
Francis a hard time earlier, but no, she's okay.
Yes, yeah. She was great. She ran up in the press box.
And that's
she's all
something
right.
you'll talk about for a long
For
time.
a long time,
No
yeah.
doubt. Especially as long as those bruises last, that's for sure. What's bugging me? It is a little bit about high school football. Again, this is not being unappreciative of what the referees do in high school football. It's a job that nobody likes the ref a lot of times. They're doing the job that they think they need to do and how they need to do it. I think they do it from a very pure way of thinking about things. I don't think they have nefarious thoughts about the game or whatever. But guys, you can't be the third team on the field. You are, but you can't be the ones that are there all the time. You can't have 45-minute conversations about a 5-yard penalty that really didn't need to be talked about.
100%.
You can't have your feelings hurt because somebody yelled because you made a call that they didn't like.
Right.
Football sidelines are nothing but yelling and screaming and sweating and spitting and you name it. And if you're that sensitive to that, maybe you should think about
that shouldn't be your right.
And so when you become part of the game, this is strictly from a fan perspective. This is no allegiance to anything or anybody else, but the fans start to look at the game and say, you know what, if this is the way it's going to be, I don't know if I want to come back here and sit here till 11:30 at night because we are just grinding over things and making calls that are iffy and then missing calls and then pretending that you could actually have a do-over.
Yeah.
Or it's things like that.
I'd rather, like, the week before, like, they didn't call anything. And that's fine because you're not calling it on anybody.
Right.
And you're staying out of the conversation and you're letting the kids play football.
And trust me, 90% of the penalty calls, there's no argument about them. There's not. But it's the process that goes through it. It's like, okay, you really gonna talk about this?
Right.
We know that the guy was lined up off. We saw him jump off sides. What are we talking about?
Right.
And so I think a little bit of that goes a long way. It makes the game go along a little quicker. And not that anything has to be quicker. We're not trying to, but again, there's momentum in games. There's all that stuff. I could probably tell you that in the game on Friday night that we were at, Armwood probably had a problem with the game being slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
And they were on a roll. They were doing some stuff, and all of a sudden now you're gonna have a conversation about something that really didn't require a conversation.
Right.
So that kind of thing, and you do see it. This is not one situation. It's happened for years and years and years. And I get it. They want to get it right, and sometimes they get judged on certain things. But I think a lot of times, when you get into the game and you get into the flow of things, and you let it keep flowing, it goes a lot better.
At the end after the game's all done and said, there should be no conversation about the officiating.
Right.
That if that happens, then you did your job.
Right.
If all you're talking about afterwards is that you then you didn't do your job.
And by the way,
as far as I'm concerned.
But basically, I can tell you, I've been in games where there's been 10 penalties on both teams, and thought that it was well done because it was just flow and go and next and we're going on to the next play. I'll explain it to you if the coach is a question about a call. Coach, when next time out, we'll talk.
Right.
Those are the things that make everybody feels better about it, at least to a point.
Right.
Yeah, to a point.
You could live with it. You could stomach it.
Absolutely right. Well, that's another show.
All right.
Let me make one quick announcement. There will be no podcast next week. It's Labor Day. There's a few things going on.
We might not be here.
Yeah, who knows what's going to be going on? But we've collectively said we're going to take one week break off, come back, and we'll have a nice pile up of stuff to do that, to talk. I booked our guest for the 11th.
Oh.
So if I want to, can I put a tease out there? All right, I'm been told. Forrest Lamp
Oh, all right.
coming on the 11th. So
Heck yeah.
former
In
NFLer
person?
in person.
All right, good.
Yeah, so he's going to be here in person.
You might have to get a short. You might have to get a shorter seat for him. He's a big guy.
Yeah. It's a bucket. He can sit on that. So Forrest will be our guest, and then we'll be in the heart of football season. Everything will be kicked off. So it'll be nice to talk to Forrest and see how he's doing in his post NFL life with that.
Yeah.
With that, we thank you for watching, as always, to the 941 Sports Zone. For Jessica Pluchino, for myself, John Massoni, and for the Vibrant Aspect Media guys that are doing a wonderful job every week for us. Yes, indeed. We will see you here in 2 weeks on the 941 Sports Zone. Have a good one.